Previously on Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. With bitter tears on her face, Chisato had told Akira last week what she heard from her homeroom teacher, that Natsumi would be leaving the school. The story of the tragedy at Natsumi's house spread throughout the entire school shortly after it occurred. At the same time, her Hinamizawa heritage was revealed in the worst possible way. Due to the widespread TV coverage, the students inconsiderately began speculating and spreading senseless rumors about her, as though they found the story a source of amusement and ridicule. The most damaged people, driven by their own remorse, were Akira's two childhood friends.
私がもっとあの子の力になってあげられたら私が夏美のあの子が南沢だったらどうしようって勝手に身構えて警護士になって一番助けなきゃいけない時に一番助けられる時にあの子にぶつかっていけなかった友達だって言ってたくせにこんな時に何にも役に立てなくて何が友達だよあんただけのせいじゃないよ佐藤私だって何も
Chisato and Tamako both continued blaming themselves and weeping. And even though Akira wasn't crying, he felt the same way. All of them had been in a position to help Natsumi. He certainly didn't know how he could have helped, but there should have been something he could have done for her. But he didn't. And now he was left trapped in an endless loop of regret and self-loathing for what he failed to do.
ごめん、夏美。
When he opened his mouth, an apology came out. It might be meaningless. The act of apologizing itself is arrogant. It might invoke contempt from her. Still, that was the first thing Akira thought of when it came to Natsumi. And that was his strongest feeling.
ごめん。俺は夏美に何もできなかった。夏美のこと何でも知りたいって言ってたくせに遠慮して臆病になって結局夏美が苦しんでいることに何も許してくれなんて言えない。だけど俺の気持ちは変わらない。それだけは伝えたかった。
アキラくん、私が好きなら何があっても私を見捨てたりしない？
ああ。
じゃあ。
Muttering that, Natsumi smiled. A thin silver thread of saliva ran down her lip from the edge of her mouth. I do not like this. It almost looked like blood against the light of the setting sun. Then, that moment, the hands that had been resting on Kira's back quietly moved around his chest, climbed to his shoulders, then reached up to the back of his neck. And then...
私と一緒に死んで。私のこと好きなんでしょ？私の話を聞いてくれるんでしょ？力になってくれるんでしょ？私の幸せになってくれるんでしょ？私のこと好きなんでしょ？なら、私の言うことを聞いて、私のためになって私を幸せにして。アキラくんと死ぬのが私の願いなの。私のためなの。私の幸せなの。だからね、お願いお願いお願い！お願い！
Thanks to Natsumi's incredible strength, Akira was now lying face up on the floor. Her long hair started unraveling and began clinging to his face from above. Her eyes opened and felt the slightest trace of sanity as she refused to let him go. She strangled him with a tremendous strength. No matter how hard he braced his legs, Akira couldn't even verbalize a groan. He gasped with a look of agony on his face.
もうやめ。
どうしてみんな私を渡してしまうの。私は本当にワルシアさん守りたかっただけなのに。私は無理だから。私は無理だから。無理だから。
Natsumi groaned as if she was possessed. However, Akira's mind was ensnared and he couldn't move. His feelings for Natsumi, the terror in front of him, determination, madness, the demon in front of him. His erratic jumble of emotions threatened to burst from his very blood vessels.
夏美、もうこんなことやめよう。
Bright red tears of blood poured from Natsumi's eyes, like waterfalls. She was screaming her death throes. Blood gushed out of her as she spewed even more blood with her screams. The more violently she writhed, the more merciless and deeper her nails dug into her neck. They chiseled away at the inflamed chunks of red meat emerging from the gaping gash on her neck. Fresh blood and muddy bodily fluids erupted from Natsumi's body and gushed out as far as the eye could see. Akira could only stand there, unable to move. His hands, grabbing at Natsumi's arms, floated along with his shadow, and eventually separated from her. Then, for only a moment, he saw Natsumi don a gentle smile. The more I investigate, the more I'm driven into this labyrinth, this chain of nightmares. The closer I get, the more the door of truth shuts. In the face of such a baffling mystery, what can I do by challenging it alone? And yet, I can only say this. No, I have to say it. The curse of Hinamizawa is not over yet. The great disaster didn't mark the end of everything, and I'm sure it will continue for a long time. This tragedy will repeat over and over and over again in some other city, until the day the name Hinamizawa weathers and fades from people's memories for all time. That's it. It won't end like this. No, I won't let it end like this. I swear I'll blow the lid on this ruthless, tragic nightmare of an incident, even if it costs me my life.
終わらせたりするものか。私は忘れない。絶対。
似ていませんよ。私はあの人みたいに戦わずに今さら追いつけないし、そんな気もないです。
That's why my heart aches. Sis really put in a lot of effort and worked hard until now, and she gained the qualifications she needed to be happy. So nobody can complain to her about her lack of rest in body and mind. She won't let them. But she's still operating at full speed, diving headfirst into all sorts of difficulties and hardships.
似てほしくない。お姉ちゃんはお父さんのようになってほしくない。努力の数だけ頑張った人が損をするのは絶対間違ってます。
Karu-san must have thought he was doing me a favor by transferring her to Kageboushi Station. But it seemed that plan backfired, and it only made me feel worse. And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. So, it's a brand new spanking day, and I think it's time we should start a brand spanking new console arc to get the brand spanking bad taste of the last arc's ending out of our mouths. Because really, who likes to have the taste of tragedy in their mouths 24/7? I know I don't. So, Kageboushi. I wonder if, like with the main story arcs, we'll get to see this the same general story that we saw in Somotsushi play out, but from another character's perspective. Like, I don't know, maybe Chisato or something. To be honest, I'm kind of curious to know what thoughts go on in her head. At least more than what little we saw in the tips section for Somotsushi. I'm getting tongue twisted already. What a good sign of things to come. Shutting up, let's get started. What is this, a hot spring? Kageboushi, Spinning Shadows. This chapter is the answer arc for Somotsushi. Well, we're already at the answer arc for stuff, huh? It can be read after completing Chapter 5, Mikishi. Akasaka travels to Kageboushi City to investigate the mysteries of Hinamizawa along Vuushi and Tomoe. His investigation leads him to Natsumi Kimiyoshi. We get to have the Akasaka man today, huh? Lucky us! Whoops. Didn't mean to bring that up. Wednesday, July 6, 1983. Kageboushi City. Sometime during the first 2 weeks of July, Ushi-san and I accompanied a team of local detectives into a residential area. It was in Kageboushi, a commuter town adjacent to a larger metropolitan area in the Chubu region. The area featured a flourishing transportation network, including an airport built on the city outskirts. All of this, coupled with the rapidly growing population, has made the town fairly well known.
着きました。
The car slowed to a standstill beside an alley. The driver, Chief Inspector Tomoe Minai, a local police detective, pointed to a house visible through the windshield. It was your typical run-of-the-mill single-family home, the kind you'd be able to find anywhere. So much so, that it looked no different than any of the neighboring houses on the same street. However, despite its average appearance, there was something that set it apart. The Do Not Enter tape covering the entryway gave the house an unsettlingly ominous atmosphere.
Akasaka-san.
So this is supposed to be the answer arc to Somotsushi. I'm assuming that what we're seeing right now is our detectives investigating the aftermath of what happened in the house after Mommy went crazy. Sitting in the back seat, Ushi-san and I nodded to each other before exiting the car through our respective doors. Yep. It's yellow. And it has 2 words on it. Definitely ominous. The moment I stepped outside, it was as if I'd been engulfed by the sweltering heat. I could feel my skin burning while my body almost instantly began to sweat. The blazing sun and the shrill cry of the cicadas assaulted my senses. Despite arriving before noon, The air was hot and stagnant. I didn't even feel a breeze. Feeling uncomfortable, I held the back of my hand to my forehead to wipe away the sweat. The sunlight reflecting off the asphalt was dazzling, and before I knew it, I felt a wave of dizziness.
暑いですね。
でもいいお天気ですよ。どこかへお出かけするには絶好の日和じゃないですか。
After saying that, Ushi-san squared his shoulders and tilted his chin up to admire the sky. He was right. The sky was a deep blue, with nary a cloud in sight. You call this nary a cloud in sight? On a day as clear and as bright as this, you'd surely have a good time no matter where you went. Hello? For a moment, I thought of Miyuki's bright smile. That's her name! I couldn't remember what her name was for a second there. Now that I think about it, it's been about a week since I arrived in this town. I left her in the care of my in-laws due to this job, so I haven't been able to be a good father and look after her in a while.
すまんな、みゆき。
Bring her a souvenir. That'll cheer her up. Probably. While mentally apologizing to my daughter, I took a deep breath.
見ない警部。家の中には入れますか？
はい。上に許可も取って鍵を預かっていますので。あ、そうだ。
It seems Chief Inspector Minai remembered something while answering my question. She quickly went back to the car and turned on the police scanner. With the receiver in hand, she sent out a transmission.
こちら一課次長、見ない。先日の事件現場に到着しましたので、これより現場検証に向かいます。どうぞ。
柿内 PS より未来次長へ。了解した。鑑識の捜査は終了しているが、可能な限り現状維持を保つように。必要なら藤田刑事が誰かを手伝いに向かわせるが、どうぞ。
そうですね。現時点では必要なし。1時間ほどで車に戻りますので、例の件について進展があればその時に。どうぞ。
了解した。どうぞごゆっくり。
通信終わります。
After that brief exchange, Chief Inspector Minai ended the call. Then, as she hung up the receiver, she seemed to quietly grumble, "Take all the time you need," while shutting the door on the driver's side.
何か？
相変わらず豆ですね。ちゃんと上司さんに伝えてきたんだし、いちいち連絡なんかしなくても大丈夫じゃないですか？
I really gotta take a moment to just say how it's just deeply amusing to me how at one point earlier on when I was first starting this whole series, Higurashi I mean, Uji's laugh tended to fill me with dread, and now every time I hear it, it fills me with joy instead. No matter the context in which it's used. There's something ironic about that, I feel.
いえ、これも規則ですから。それに、公務で外に出た時は、万一のことがあった時に備えて、活動内容を逐一報告しておくことが刑事の義務です。
Chief Inspector Minai responded honestly and with a straight face. It was truly an exemplary response, almost as if she had read it straight off of a textbook. She's not wrong, though. Like she said, it's necessary for detectives to keep their co-workers well informed about their present whereabouts and activities in case something comes up. That serves as our starting point during an investigation, allowing us to reveal the culprit. Moreover, disclosing our activities provides evidence in our defense against accusations of corruption or injustice. Still, it seems like overkill to report in on an investigation in a deserted residential area with hardly anyone in sight. The staff back at the station probably had a bitter smile on their faces when they said, "Take all the time you need." This woman was quite different from Ushi-san.
いやー、それにしても暑いですね。ともいちゃんもそのジャケット脱いじゃったらどうですか？
お気遣いどうも。でも私、割と暑いのは平気ですから。
本当に？
本当です。
Sure enough, Chief Inspector Minai had a cool, composed look on her face, whereas the rest of us were wiping the sweat from our brows. It seemed reasonable to think she could handle this.
まあ、天気が良すぎるのも考えものですね。喉が渇いて仕方がない。お？
どうぞ。これでよければ。
Chief Inspector Minai suddenly opened a cooler in the trunk and began passing out cans of coffee, one by one. Caffeine would dehydrate you, though. Thankful for her concern, we accepted them and opened the pull tabs. I drank it immediately, feeling a comforting chill running down my throat.
いやー、生き返った。ともいちゃん、気が利きますね。
こういう暑い日は自販機を探すのも面倒ですから。
What, do the vending machines just sprout legs and start walking around on hot days or something? I don't think the heat would have anything to do with how hard they are to find. Detective Minai responded while collecting our empty cans, then tossed them in the waste bin inside the car. Unless you're talking about not wanting to deal with lines of people in front of them, in which case, well, I guess that makes sense. Even so, her expressions felt stiff since departure, and she seemed to be in a bad mood. Did something happen?
何か？
ああ、いえ。こんないい天気の日に現場検証ってのは気がめいりますね。
Can't handle a little heat, Mr. Karate Man?
そうですね。こういう天気の時は匂いもきつくなりますので、それも嫌な感じです。服に染みつかなければいいんですが。
そんなに匂いますかね。どれどれ？
Look out! Ushi said something moved his face near Chief Inspector Minai's chest, and she jumped in surprise. Then, as soon as she saw Ushi-san's smug smile, she came to her senses, shaking her fist and shouting towards the sky.
大石さん、何するんですか？
いやー、体臭を気にしてるみたいだからちょいと確かめてあげようかと思いましてね。大丈夫ですよ。全然匂ってませんから。
You are ballsy. And this is why I like having you around.
そんなこと言ってね。私の匂いじゃなく、事件現場が匂うって意味で言ってるんじゃねえですが。
So, you don't smell? Chief Inspector Minai shot at Ushi-sen an offended glare, while he let out his usual bombastic laugh that shook his oversized stomach. Ushi-san's words and actions can be rather shocking and appalling, huh? Huh? Come to think of it, that accent Chief Inspector Minai spoke in earlier, I'm certain it was... As soon as Chief Inspector Minai's eyes met mine, her face began to blush and she cleared her throat. Attempting to stay cool, I quickly asked her a question.
南井警部、出身は茨城ですか？
東京です。でも、祖母と母が水戸でしたから、その...
Chief Inspector Minai spoke in a hushed voice, clearly embarrassed. But she looked slightly perturbed, tilting her head as she looked at me.
赤坂警視。どうして私の出身が茨城だと？
いや、実は親戚が日本に住んでいましたので。すみません。ちょっと懐かしくて。
あ、そうでしたか。私、いえ、自分は去年まで勤務が茨城だったので、祖母の口調が移っちゃって、その...
まあ普段はうまく隠してるんですけどね。ちょっといじってあげるだけですぐにこの通りな。
大石さん、殴っていいですか？
The veins in Chief Inspector Minai's temple throbbed as Ushi-sen said, "Oh, how scary!" Their relationship seems to have been turned upside down. That reminds me. Ushi-san told me about her father the other day. Chief Inspector Minai didn't just move from Tokyo to Ibaraki due to family circumstances. She had a deeper, more depressing reason for moving. And she had no choice.
本当は決して笑い話じゃなかった。
In an effort to change the subject, I stepped between Chief Inspector Minai and Ushi-san and asked a question.
つまり夏場の殺しの事件現場は現場検証が厄介になるってことですか？確かに冬場と比べても暑さともろもろで気分が悪くなりますし。
あ、はい、そうです。おかげでこの前の事件直後は部下の捜査員たちが近場の路地でゲーゲー吐いちゃって、後始末。
ああ、それ聞きましたよ。翌日3人も体調不良でお休みになったって。ともいちゃんはよく平気でしたね。
私も決して気分が良かったわけじゃありません。だけど管理職が仕事放り出して休むなんて部下に示しがつきませんから。
Even if that has to result in you vomiting all over your desk and maybe some of your subordinates too, while they're giving you a status report on something, or delivering you paperwork, or giving you coffee, paperwork, and the stapler.
食欲はさすがにありませんでしたけどね。
For a food lover such as herself, to say that means it must have been quite unpleasant. It's okay, Akasaka. You can call her for what she is. What's the worst she can do to you, honestly? You're a freaking karate master. You went against a freaking special forces guy in one alternate universe. Surely you can handle Detective Minai.
わかりますよ。私も若い頃は現場検証の後、料理の何を見てもいろんな想像をしてしまって、数日間何も口にできませんでしたね。自己管理がなっていないと上司によく叱られたものです。
そんなケースこそ想像できませんよ。
After saying that, Chief Inspector Minai laughed while holding a hand to her mouth. Of course, her reaction seemed somewhat weak, as if she was distracted and focused on some other thought, focused on some other thought that was running through her head. Was there some concern that she wasn't willing to share with us?
あ、すみません、警視。つい調子に乗って失礼な物言いを。
いや、別に気にしないでください。むしろ私はあまり肩肘を張って話される方が苦手でしてね。同じ桜の大門を背負う仲間として普通に接していただけたら嬉しいです。
そうですか？
そうですよ、ともいちゃん。赤坂さんには私と同じように心も体も許す感じで接してくれたらいいんですからね。
あんたにその両方とも許した覚えは断じてない。
なはははは。
Ushi-san, I hope you don't make fun of her too much. I hope for the opposite. I want to see just how far he can push it before a shoe comes flying at his face.
まあ、犯罪者を追って完全懲悪の範を示すことに違いはないってことですよ。ですから捜査のためにご協力をお願いします。
はい。こちらこそよろしくご指導お願いします。自分は公安の方とご一緒に仕事をするのが初めてなので、いろいろご迷惑をおかけするかもしれませんが、勉強不足で申し訳ありません、警視。
いやいや、そんなことはありませんよ。私は所轄の方々に比べれば、こういう凶悪事件の現場経験は大したことはありませんので、若輩者で勉強不足なのは警部よりもむしろ私の方ですよ。
そんなご謙遜を。自分は学も知識も浅い上、偉そうに言えるほど現場を知っているわけではありませんので、警視にそう言われると面はゆい限りです。
たくさん経験したところで慣れるものではありませんし、偉いというわけでもありませんよ。ものになるのかならないのかは本人の資質というやつですからね。
恐縮です。
Even so, I'd expect no less from the woman who was selected as a future executive by the Metropolitan Police. Chief Inspector Minai was the kind of person who would go to any crime scene if they asked her to. Even if her subordinates turned away feeling sick, she would rush in searching for clues. On top of that, she speaks frankly and has a humble personality. I get the feeling she is a little too serious, though, but I understand why Oyashiro-san thinks so highly of her.
とりあえずまだ昼前で、本格的には暑くなっていませんから、なるべく早めに済ませましょう。
そうですね。それじゃ行きましょうか。
Then we all turned to face that single-family home. A barrier of yellow tape was stretched all around the outer wall. The house itself looked peaceful in comparison, masking the fact that it was actually the scene of a crime. A family of 4 had been living happily in this house. A father in the prime of his career, and a working mother, and 2 lovely kids. So this isn't Natsumi's house? Wait a minute. I think I remember. Wasn't there a mention of a family, just like this, having been murdered towards the end of the last arc, in a news segment or something like that? It was a typical family, like you'd find anywhere. That's why I still can't believe the tragedy that happened in this house a few days ago. Something fell off on one corner of the house, and I turned to face it. Before my eyes, I saw countless pieces of paper attached to the wall. Talismans with strange writings on them. Looking closely, I could see eerie curse-like words written lightly in red ink. I reached out to touch one of them, but a sudden breeze struck one of them and it fell to the ground. At the same time, I noticed the name Hatakeyama. The Hakatayamas, that's right, engraved into the nameplate that was hidden behind the talisman until a moment ago.
Hatakeyama.
hinamizawaの御三家と違って、ただ出身がhinamizawaというだけの普通の家族です。それに例の事件の直後でしたから接触を控えていたのですが、すみません、裏目に出ました。
After saying that, Chief Inspector Minai hung her head. Then the rest of us did the same. There was no denying that we made a flawed assumption. The family here was involved in that other tragedy, so we assumed that another incident couldn't happen to the same family. Just then, out of nowhere, I heard the sound of ringing bells. I stopped without thinking and looked around. There it was again. A peculiar sound that didn't belong. It sounded vaguely similar to a cat's bell, but clearly different. As if it sounded like someone's footsteps. Is that you, Hanyu?
おや？どうかしましたか？
いえ、 大石さん、何か音が聞こえませんか？
音ですか。
In response to my inquiry, Ushi-sen cautiously surveyed his surroundings. However, he couldn't see anything suspicious, so he turned back to me and shook his head.
何も聞こえませんが、ともいちゃんはどうです？
私も特には。どんな音でしたか？
あ、いや、すみません。気のせいかもしれません。
I must have misheard. I'm a little tired. I think I hear a jet flying over. No, that's not a jet. That's... No, I think that may be a truck. Apologize for the background noise. I'm sure it'll be gone soon enough. In order to escape from their gaze, I turned behind me and looked toward the small field outside. I could see some vegetables planted nearby, but they all looked rather withered. Were they dead? I couldn't sense any life from them. And with all the houses lined up nearby, the presence of a small field like this was rather strange.
あの畑、税金対策ですよ。
Look at Aoshi! Look how smug he is. He looks like he looks like the guy who did it. Whatever it is that he's done. Whatever nefarious crime. He looks like he's the one who did it, and he knows he's gonna get away with it. Either that, or he's just really checking out Minai, which I guess is probably more likely.
農地だと不動産にかかる税金が安くて済みますからね。
Did she notice my strange expression? I certainly noticed Ushi's strange expression. Chief Inspector Minai stepped beside me as she said that.
税金対策？
ええ。この辺りは地価が数年前と比べて格段に高騰しているんです。それに加えて、再来年には地下鉄の駅がこの近くに開通しますので、だからあの土地の持ち主はそれまで農地として節税しているんだって聞きました。
あの野菜はどうするんでしょう？
近所の人の話だと好き勝手に取り放題だそうです。それでも余った分は秋頃になったら全て焼き捨てているみたいですね。
Such a lonely story. The land was no longer able to serve its original function and only existed to generate wealth. This must be another consequence of the recent economic boom.
それにしても嫌に静かですね。まるで廃墟の町ですよ。
ここは新興のベッドタウンですから、昼間は人が少なくなります。商店街もちょっと離れていますからね。とはいえ、普段なら主婦の方々が道端とか近くの公園とかで話し込んだりしているのですが。
さすがに今はか。
Chief Inspector Minai silently nodded to Ushi-san's mutterings. Indeed, not a lot of time had passed since the incident occurred. Given the circumstances, it was hard to believe that people could be engaging in feckless idle gossip.
それにしても都会の建物はやはりおしゃれな作りをしていますね。赤坂さんのお宅もこんな感じですか？
いいえ。私の住まいはもっと都心寄りの古くからの住宅街ですから、こんなに小綺麗な建物はないですよ。
But even though it was a beautiful cityscape, I didn't envy it at all. Everything was sun-baked and cracked. It felt inorganic, colorless, and tasteless.
自分はこういう街にはあまり住みたくないですね。誰かと一緒に暮らすならもっと。失 失言でした。忘れてください。
Still thinking about how you're still single, eh? It's okay, Tomie. If you ask me, you're a catch. You'll find somebody. Chief Inspector Minai blushed, then cleared her throat. After seeing her smile, Ushi-san sucked down the end of his cigarette, then crushed under his shoe, as he looked back toward me and spoke.
さて、それじゃあ行きましょう。ともいちゃん、お願いできますか？
さっきから気になってたんですけど、いい加減私のことはちゃんと見ないって上の名字で呼んでくれませんか？
ん？気に入りませんか？
好き嫌いの話じゃないです。子供じゃあるまいし、公務の時くらいはきっちり節度を守ってください。周りに示しがつかないでしょうが。
でもそれだと今度は妹さんと区別がつかなくなっちゃうじゃないですか？
つきます。双子じゃないし顔だって似てないでしょうが。だいたい同じ見ないでもあっちは巡査で私は警部なんだから、そんなに区別って言うならちゃんと見ない警部って呼んでください。
しかしですね、私は親しい人には肩書きなしでフレンドリーに呼びかけるのがポリシーなんですよ。ねえ、赤坂さん。
I vaguely laughed, trying to evade answering. It would be nice if Ushi-san called me Inspector Akasaka once in a while.
というわけなので、少し多めに見てくださいな、ともいちゃん。
もういいです。さっさと入ってください。
Not wanting to waste any more time on the matter, Chief Inspector Minai lowered her shoulder and lifted the tape to slip underneath. She gave Ushi-san and I a nod after passing through, so we slipped under and stepped in front of the house. By all rights, entering a crime scene in a region outside my jurisdiction is a major overreach of authority. So what are you doing here exactly? However, I was able to get special permission to enter this house today thanks to my title as a public security official, and also because this woman was an acquaintance of Ushi-san, actually the older sister of his acquaintance.
すみませんね、警部。大石さんも悪気があるわけじゃないんです。むしろ。
分かっています。別に自分は怒っていませんので。
After saying that, Chief Inspector Minai steps beyond the tape, devoid of the emotional atmosphere that was present a moment ago, and I followed behind her. Despite what she said, I could feel the anger permeating through her back, and it made me restless. I'll have to keep an eye on Ushi-san in the future. Russell. I felt something near my feet, so I took a quick glance. I had stepped on another sheet of paper. The black, dirty, poisonous color gave me an unpleasant impression. What is this?
どうしました、警視？
あ、いや。
Chief Inspector Minai looked back. She must have noticed my abrupt stop. The moment I turned to respond, that bizarre sound echoed in my ears again. For a moment, I completely forgot about the summer heat, as a frightening chill ran down my back and coursed through my entire body. Was that really just a hallucination? Or maybe I'm possessed by the Oyashiro-sama that all the villagers in Hinamizawa are so afraid of.
まさかな。
I shook my head with a bitter smile to dispel my concerns about these delusions. Then I began stepping forward again until I caught up with Ushi-san. First, we put on the investigation gloves that Chief Inspector Minai handed to us. Then, I followed behind Ushi-san as he opened the door and stepped into the entrance. It was incredibly quiet inside the house, and a distinct odor reached my nose. The odor reminded me of rusty nails, and it grew stronger as I stepped forward. I quickly slid the filthy door open. In that room, I saw a literal sea of blood.
この部屋が犯行現場ですか？
ええ、実際に自分の目で見ると悲惨さが一層伝わってきますね。
Traces of the incident were marked by the investigators. Destroyed furniture, scratch marks in the tatami mat, all of which told the horrors of this tragedy. And most importantly, the dark red stains spread across the tatami mats highlight the place where the corpses of the inhabitants were found. After seeing the incident itself, the markings made by the forensics team seemed meaningless. This is the image of hell itself. For a while, the three of us could only stand silently beside the crime scene. Intending to clear my mind, I turned my attention to the report that Chief Inspector Minai gave me. The victims were the homeowners, Masao Hatakeyama and his wife, Yoshiko. According to the initial investigation team, Masao shot himself in the head from close range with a hunting rifle and died instantly. And the direct cause of death for Yoshiko was blood loss from a close-range gunshot to her chest. Although she didn't die instantly, the hospital eventually confirmed her death due to the excessive bleeding. And the two children were...
ひどいものです。
Chief Inspector Minai grimaced as she muttered those words, attempting to dispel the heavy atmosphere. Those words perfectly characterized our impressions. 3 years ago, Masao's work transferred him to this location, which caused the 4 members of the Hatakeyama family to move here from Hinamizawa. It's horrific for an attack like this to happen in such an ordinary household. The suspect, Masao Hatakeyama, went on a rampage in the middle of the night, making strange sounds, swinging his hunting rifle, and firing. First, he went for those closest to him who didn't have time to defend themselves from his sudden actions. Yeah, that's totally the sound that a bullet would make. A slashing noise. Next was Yoshiko, who was frozen in terror from the unexpected nightmare. Footprints were gradually left around the room where the culprit walked through the red floor. Though his whole body was bathed in blood, I wonder if he continued seeking bloodshed.
鑑識の話では、県警全域の記録でもこれだけの事件は近年稀だそうです。しかも、被疑者は捜査員が突入する前に自殺。おかげで、原因も詳細も一切が不明のまま。
お子さん2人のうち1人は銃撃を逃れて病院に運び込まれたと聞きましたが。
ええ、病院からの連絡では峠を越して今朝意識を回復したそうです。ただ家族が全員死んでたった一人だけ生き残って、彼女は今後どうするのか。
After saying that, Chief Inspector Minai bit her lip with a crestfallen look on her face. Should we be pleased with the fortune that someone survived? Or should we mourn that misfortune that they could not die together? Unrelated parties like us have no right to answer. This incident feels like... That's right. Like some sort of religious ceremony, perhaps? Or a ritual to cleanse impurities. It was a gruesome possibility, just as in the name blood offering implied. Suddenly, the strange talismans I saw by the front door came to mind. If this was a ceremony, then were they all human sacrifices? I shook my head and looked upward to escape my terrible thoughts. And where I turned to look, I saw a shrine seated on a shelf that seemed to be looking down at me.
これは
そうですね。祀られているのはOyashiro-samaですな。
Sensing my intention, Ushi-san looked me in the eyes and nodded.
近所の人の証言だと、何でも祖父のカズマは熱心な信奉者だったとか、悪さをした近所の子供たちに注意する時にも必ずその名前が出ていたようです。
Oyashiro-samaの罰が当たるか。
私も最初はよくあるお年寄りの例え話だと思っていました。でも例の事件と翌日に起こったこの事件を知ってからはすみません。こちらも事前に危うい情報をつかんでおきながら結局。
Chief Inspector Minai bit down on her nails to ease her regret. In an effort to console her, Ushi-san shrugged his shoulders and lightly patted her on the shoulder.
お気遣いなく。これでまだ終わったわけじゃないんですから。ね、赤坂さん。
Ushi-san slowly turned to face me while saying that. I slowly nodded in agreement.
畠山一馬は確か無役の一般村民という話でしたよね。
Hinamizawaの御三家、特に園崎家と比べれば大した仕事をやっていたわけじゃありません。それでもよく調べてみましたら、数年前に体調を崩すまで年寄り連中の末席で議事に加わっていたみたいですよ。
であればその信心の強さもうなずけますね。
I vividly recalled my memories of 5 years ago. A remote village deep within the mountains, Hinamizawa. I visited the village once while investigating a kidnapping incident on behalf of Tokyo. Unfortunately, the curtain was closed midway, so the truth of that incident remains a mystery. However, the state of the village and the villagers' fervent fear of Oyashiro-sama's curse were engraved into my heart. They say Oyashiro-sama is not like a god or Buddha who extends a hand of salvation, but a wrathful demon. Their faith in Oyashiro-sama bred in their isolated space, and had dominated their behavior for years without fading, and weighed heavily on the hearts of those who left the village, leaving deep scars. Making our way out of the living room, we headed for the next room over. This room belonged to the victim from the other day, Kazuma Hatakeyama, and it was adorned with a shrine just like the one from the living room. No, it was even larger.
ここにもあるんですね。
A large amount of red blood was spread across the tatami mats, along with traces of the forensic team's investigation. This is where the suspect, Masao, stuffed the muzzle of the rifle down his throat and pulled the trigger. The shot came from close range, so the corpse was in terrible condition. Whoops. Putting it into words is making me feel dizzy.
ところで、巴警部。
次に行ったら本気で蹴っ飛ばしますよ。
冗談ですよ。彼女は尋問できそうなんですか？
ええ、まあ。
Chief Inspector Minai nodded vaguely in response to Ushi-san's question. By girl, he meant the eldest child, the survivor of this incident, Aoi Hatakeyama. She received a minor injury on her head at the time of the incident, when the suspect struck her with a blunt object.
まだ若いので回復も早そうです。体力が回復した段階で医師立ち会いのもとで事情聴取を予定しています。
の割に言い方がらしくありませんね。何か問題でも？
いえ、まだ何とも。家庭の域を出ませんので。
After that evasive answer, Chief Inspector Minai bent down on her knees to examine the sliding door more closely.
現在、彼女は警察病院内の特別病棟で主治医をつけて治療中です。数日中には連絡がもらえるものと思います。
とはいえ、体は無事でも心はそういかないでしょう。そちらの具合は大丈夫なのですか？
What do you think?
わかりません。弟が殺害されたところを見ていたかもしれませんし、ただ事件の詳細を知っているのは彼女一人なので、慎重を期した上で深い内容を聴取したいと思っています。
深い内容？
Ushi-san held his finger to his temple in thought, then turned around and addressed Chief Inspector Minai.
ともいちゃん、勝手ばかりで申し訳ありませんが、その事情聴取よろしければ我々も参加させていただけませんか？その子の話が何か参考になるかもしれませんので。
それは構いません。ただあまり突っ込んだ内容は控えてください。ただでさえ今回の事件はデリケートな部分が多いものですから。
分かっておりますって。ともえちゃん、私のことを何だと思ってるんです？これでも警官の端くれなんですよ。
Well, you kind of are.
そうでしたね。いい勉強になりましたよ。いろいろな意味で。
なはははは。そう言ってもらえるとありがたいな。ねえ、赤坂さん。
はあ。
Then, Chief Inspector Minai glared at Ushi-sen for eyes opened wide before turning to me. Does she think I'm in the same league? Please cut me a break. This incident began last month in Hinamizawa. In the end of June 1983, near Shishibone City, Hinamizawa village, volcanic gas suddenly erupted in the middle of the night and enveloped the entire village. As a result of that unprecedented disaster, the entire village was wiped out. An emergency declaration was issued before the cause was fully understood, so all personnel have been strictly prohibited from entering Hinamizawa village, turning it into an isolated island of unreachable land. The shocking news quickly spread across all of Japan, and people began wildly speculating. Within a day, the tragedy had made it to the mass media. Nowadays, the news is more like an entertainment product, with heavily sensationalized content that seems far from the truth. And as time goes on, I wonder if the nature of this tragedy will be lost entirely. The people following the incident for their own amusement will quickly find another subject to pursue on a whim, and gradually forget about it. That's the way of this world. Nevertheless, there are so many unknown elements of this unprecedented disaster, and Oyashiro-sama's curse is the backbone of it all. In order to investigate this incident, Ushi-san and I have been searching for people from Hinamizawa and questioning them about their circumstances and what they know about the curse. However, surveying the former villagers turned out to be extremely difficult. Even when an opportunity arose, some misfortune would inevitably befall the families we were speaking to, causing our leads to dry up. Woof woof, goes the mountain dog. Ha ha, goes the Tokyo people. At this time, it culminated in the Hatakeyama family murder case. If news of this incident reaches the public, it'll become even harder to get information about this curse from the Hinamizawa natives. And their silence only added more credibility to the concept of Oyashiro-sama's curse. After finishing our examination in the Japanese-style room, we returned to the living room.
窓開けますか。
Ushi-san wiped the sweat from his forehead and went to open the window next to the kitchen. A refreshing breeze blew in. Although it managed to cast off the lingering heat that had covered the entire house, it did nothing to shake off the lingering stench of the tragedy in this room. Right. The source of that foul air was a deep-seated grudge. That's not an easy thing to wash away. Haunted by those thoughts, I decided to breathe a little of the outside air, so I leaned out the window and inhaled a deep breath. After breathing that fresh air, the gears in my mind began to turn again. For the time being, I ought to take some pictures of the crime scene, so I'll be able to verify the circumstances later.
ちょっとカメラを撮ってきます。見ない警部。車のキーを貸していただけますか。
Should have brought it in with you.
あ、はい。何か写真でしたら私のをお貸ししますが。
いえ、せっかく持ってきましたから、自分用の資料も用意しておきたいので。
わかりました。どうぞ。
After taking the key from her, I proceeded out of the room. You alright? The moment I turned the knob on the front door, a familiar sensation reverberated through my body. The gentle warmth of the humid air ran down my back. I opened the door and swallowed as I stepped outside. As if the silence earlier had only been an illusion, the cicadas all began to cry out at once. Having suddenly been reacquainted with reality, I stopped in my tracks for a moment. Although the only thing separating us was a single door, I couldn't hear the cry of the cicadas at all until a moment ago. When I suddenly looked up at the Hinamizawa house, it seemed like it was enshrouded in an ominous, melancholic atmosphere. Though I took pride in being a realist, the word hell ran through my mind. I looked back to see the doorway had violently slammed shut, perhaps due to the wind. I licked my chapped lips as a feeling of dread began to emerge inside of me. Intending to shake off my unease, I rushed to the police car and opened the door to the back seat. When I turned my head, I suddenly noticed that the light on the radio was flashing. I hesitated for a moment, but for the time being I decided to pick up the receiver and answer.
はい。こちら11号車。
赤坂さんですか？お疲れ様です。まどかです。
I heard a cheerful female voice coming in through the radio. She said her name was Madoka, so this must be Officer Madoka Minai, a female police officer in the Transportation Division, and the younger sister of Chief Inspector Minai, who was helping us investigate this house today. Ushi-san said that she was an acquaintance from long ago, and the circumstances were not very amusing.
あ、どうも。何かありましたか？
お姉ちゃん、見ない警部はいますか？花田刑事から至急連絡を取りたいとことづけを頼まれたんですけど。
至急？何か起きたのですか？
詳細は不明ですが、至急とのことです。
わかりました。伝えます。
よろしくです。それでは。
After closing communications, I returned to the Hatakeyama house and let Chief Inspector Minai know.
花田くんが私に？何でしょう？
さあ、そこまでは。
それにしてもなんで花田さんじゃなくてまどかちゃんが連絡を？
多分用心のためでしょう。大石さんたちの捜査に協力していることは署のお偉方にも秘密にしていますから。
いや、そうじゃなくて、なんで花田さんが直接連絡してこないのかなと。
それは。
After saying that, Chief Inspector Minai shrugged her shoulders and began to explain it, with a hint of a sigh in her voice.
今朝ここに出てくるときにミスった部下を怒りすぎてしまいまして、失礼な話です。笑い事ではありません。
Chief Inspector Minai couldn't help but give us a dirty glare after we suddenly burst out laughing. It certainly can be unnerving having a conversation on the radio where you can't see the other party face to face. And this woman had a particularly imposing presence. I don't think so. A less gutsy person would naturally avoid it whenever possible.
そもそもうちの署は情けない男が多すぎる。それもこれもトップの署長があんなだからいけないんです。
まあまあそう言わずに、昔はよらば切るなんて感じの名うての刑事さんだったんですよ。
とても信じられません。大体
それにもうすぐともえちゃんの弟になるお方じゃありませんか。
Oh yeah, that's right. He's gonna become your brother, isn't he? After Ushi-san spoke the words she least wanted to hear, Chief Inspector Minai reeled back with a look of disgust on her face. In reality, her younger sister Monika-san was currently engaged to Chief Yamauki, the man in charge of Kageboushi Station. I too was shocked to learn of that. Chief Yamauki is an elderly man, old enough to be an experienced father, and Monika-san is a cute young lady who could easily pass as a student. Scandalous. When they stand side by side, they don't look like lovers. More like a parent and child.
でも所長さん、真剣な交際だって聞きましたよ。何でも近いうちにご両親に彼女を紹介するって言ってましたし、その時にはともえちゃんも。
冗談じゃありません。あんなおっさんにお姉さんと呼ばれるくらいなら、私は今すぐに出家して一生属世間から離れて暮らします。
Well, if you need any tips on how to build yourself a dirt house, or a mud house, or whatever you want to call them, I can help with that. I know a couple survival skills.
大体まどかもまどかだ。もともと年上受けが良くて、学校の先輩はおろか先生にまで告白されてましたが、まさか結婚相手までそっち系で行くなんて一体何考えてるんだ。
Well, maybe she just wants a parental figure of a spouse to take care of her. Some people are into that sort of thing.
いや、私に言われましても。
しかもその相手が私の上司だなんて。
That's just God laughing at you.
これって何かの嫌がらせ？それとも仕返し？因果応報で自業自得？
More like divine prank.
っていうか、それを言うなら私が一体何をした？
Absolutely nothing, and that's what's most funny about it.
まあまあ。
そもそも姉の私が未だに独り身だってのに、クソ忙しい中くだらない報告ばっかりしてきやがって。この前なんかこっちが朝方まで残業してた直後にご機嫌で
昨日はカオルさんとデートでフランス料理のフルコースだったよって。
ああ、そうですか、よかったわね。どうせ私の夜食はコンビニの粉っぽいカレーよ。さらにこの前なんか、
ねえ、あの駅前のホテルから見える景色って最高よねって。
ああ、そうですか、よかったわね。こっちはブラインド越しに汚いビルだけが見える最悪の景色よ。
Then move to somewhere with a better view.
まだあった。私が仮眠室に向かう途中で会った時なんか、
ロイヤルスイートって素敵よね。ベッドがふかふかで気持ちいいのよ。だと
Get yourself a better bed.
ああ、そうですか、よかったわね。こっちはカビ臭い毛布を羽織ってせんべい布団に潜り込んで1時間の小休止よ。
Get yourself a better blanket too while you're at it.
落ち着いてください、見ない警部。
Actually, no. Don't let her calm down. I'm having a lot of fun with this. It must be a really sore point for her. Chief Inspector Minai has completely lost her cool and gone into a screaming rampage. It's like there's a childlike recklessness hiding behind her serious demeanor. She's certainly a fun one to tease, though I doubt she'd be happy to hear that, and I do feel a little sorry for her. I don't!
とりあえず見ない警部連絡を取っていただけますか
Okay, that's a lie. I kind of feel a little sorry for her too. Won't stop me from teasing her though.
お見苦しいところを失礼しました。
Once I determined she'd calmed down enough, I reminded her of the message. Still breathing heavily, the Chief Inspector cleared her throat to hide the redness in her face, then looked up to say, Roger.
それじゃあ連絡してきます。
電話ボックスってこの辺にあったかな。
先ほど通り過ぎたテニスコートの脇にあったと思いますが、なんでしたら畠山家の電話をお借りしてはまだ通じているようですよ。
いえ、やっぱり無線の方が早いです。それじゃあちょっと失礼します。
ああ、私もちょっと換気に。
タバコは車外でお願いしますよ。
After I returned the car keys, Uchi-san and Chief Inspector Minai exited the Hatakeyama residence. Had there been yet another incident in some other town? There have been so many terrible incidents related to the curse in Hinamizawa. The great disaster of unknown origin, a series of mysterious deaths, and now this strange family murder case. The thing that we are searching for is buried deep in this darkness. And why I can't help but hope that making contact with Chief Inspector Minai will be the fragments that will unravel the truth, no matter how small.
そうだな。
While waiting for the two of them to return, I decided to visit the second floor of the Hatakeyama residence. After going up the stairs and turning left, I found the master bedroom. A business suit was casually laying across the double bed. Perhaps the wife Yoshiko got caught up in this incident right after she got home from work. This room was still full of lingering hints of life. The room across the hallway on the other side of the master bedroom belonged to the elder daughter of the Hatakeyama family, Aoi. It was a lovely room, decorated with licensed merchandise and stuffed toys, like an elementary school student's room. Only one peculiar thing in the room stood out. There was a well-organized study desk, and the locker drawer had been forced open. There was nothing inside. Did someone take something out? Who on earth would do that? And for what purpose? While writing down the questions that sprang to mind in my investigation notebook, I quickly left the room. Though she was a bit older, being in this young girl's room painfully reminded me of Miyuki. I cleared my throat once more to strain myself out, then moved toward the last room at the end of the hallway. But the door was difficult to open. This home must have been poorly built. So I pushed hard against the door while turning the knob, and it made unpleasant rattling sounds as it finally opened. So what's in here? I see a red screen. A dark mass suddenly jumped into my eyes, and had the disgusting, sticky smell of ink and incense. My legs suddenly halted. Every surface of the room from top to bottom was filled with the word curse. Every corner of the room was covered. Not even a millimeter gap was unfilled.
なんだこれは。
Those words instinctively escaped me upon seeing this tremendous sight. But when I covered my eyes with my hand, It seemed like that flood of words poured in through my eyelids. I timidly opened my eyes to a crack to look around. The words that covered the entire room were mostly indecipherable, and the bizarre sheets of paper I saw near the entryway were stretched all around. The windows were covered with a thick black curtain that blocked out all external light. Just then, suddenly, I had a feeling of being watched, so I quickly looked back. A hanging corpse? In a small alcove, it looked like 4 bodies were hanging by their necks. Despite my heavy breathing and accelerated heart rate, I managed to pull the pen light from my breast pocket and turn it on. Looking more closely, the hanging corpses were actually large paper dolls cut out in the shape of humans.
なんだ
Probably representations of everyone in the household, if I had to guess. All energy drained from my body at once. But after inspecting them even closer, another horror made my skin crawl. The hanging paper dolls were engraved with the names of the 4 Hatakeyama family members, as if these were effigies to the 4 of them. Not like those used in a prayer, but more like something you used to curse someone. I tentatively stepped forward with that thought running through my head, but couldn't think of anything to say. When I shed my light on the area, I noticed drippings of candle wax scattered across the tatami mats. What on earth happened in this room? My heart ached at the overwhelming force of the blight before my eyes. I stopped thinking for a while and stood there, stunned. I suddenly began to feel dizzy, so I braced my hand against the nearby pillar. Something suddenly struck my shoulder from behind, and I spontaneously let out a short yelp. When I turned around, I found Ushi-san, looking my way in bewilderment.
なんだ大石さんですか
いやいや、驚かせてすみません。それにしても凄まじいですな。
ええ、私もあっけに取られていたところなんです。
お社様の怒りを鎮めるための儀式か。それにしてもこれは。
Even for Ushi-san, who was intimately familiar with his history of Hinamizawa and their belief in Oyashiro-sama, it was a sight to behold.
何か切迫した情念のようなものが伝わってくるようですね。
After taking a deep breath to calm my mind, Ushi-san and I began to examine the room while taking pictures. Unfortunately, despite my initial fearful reaction, there were no suspicious clues other than the eerie ritual items.
そういえば大石さん、花田刑事から見ない警部への連絡は何だったんですか？
ねえ、まあ例の件です。詳しい話はともいちゃんから聞いてください。下で現場の写真を撮っていますので。
With only those words, I understood everything. Ushi-san silently nodded to me, then headed out of the room and down the stairs. I followed closely behind him. Having finished taking pictures, I could see Chief Inspector Minai in the living room on the first floor, picking up something in her tweezers and carefully placing it in a plastic bag. When she noticed us coming down, she raised the bag to show it to us.
遺留品がまだ残っていました。帰ってから鑑識に回します。
It had a shiny pearl color. It looked like a medicine capsule. The forensics team must have missed it because it slipped into a blind spot between the cracks of the tatami mats.
何なんでしょうか？
家族の誰かの服用薬でしょうか。畳の縁で盲点になっていたようですね。
よしこ氏のものでしょうか？彼女はどうやら頭痛持ちだったらしいですから。
かもしれません。鑑識記録にもこれに関する記述がありましたね。
Chief Inspector Minai handed me the pill, and I tried to hold it up to the light from the window. The dull prism-shaped capsule has a strange pattern on the inside.
赤坂警視。
Suddenly, after placing the items in her bag, Chief Inspector Minai turned toward me. Then she turned to Ushi-san standing behind me and nodded before looking back to me and began to speak.
先ほど、例の君吉家周辺で捜査を行っていた花田刑事から連絡がありました。どうやら、祖母の君吉明が数日前から外出していないそうです。
家の中に引きこもっている。
それならまだいいんですが、気になることがあるということで、これからあの家の君吉当時に任意で聴取を行うそうです。戻り次第報告があると。
Upon hearing the Kimiyoshi family name, I was instantly reminded of Natsumi Kimiyoshi's face. An innocent-looking girl that I ran into on a rainy day a few days ago. Could she and her family be getting involved in another tragedy? How long would this chain of misfortune go on? Slowly looking back toward the source of the sound, in the shadow of the shrine, an enormous spider was gently staring down at me. Jesus Christ, how big does that thing have to be to make it sound like that? As if to laugh at me standing there, the spider disappeared back into its nest where its threads were stretched all around, filling the house with its disturbing sound. Something in the palm of my hand released a cold feeling that pulled me back to reality. When I looked down on that something, I gently closed my eyes and searched my memories to remember what it was. Two weeks before the incident at the Hatakeyama family home. Wednesday, June 22nd, 1983.
さあさあ、二人とも遠慮せず入った入った。
Hello, Chisato.
ちょっと待ってよ、千里ちゃん。
Hello, Natsumi. Oh, wait a minute. Since I didn't see Chisato's sprite, was I right? Are we seeing this from Chisato's point of view? Since Natsumi was still looking hesitant, despite having come all this way, I swooped in and sternly pushed her into the shop. Natsumi stumbled into a nearby chair. Maybe I used too much force while pushing her.
何するの、千里ちゃん。危ないでしょ。
おっとっとと、こいつはすまねえ。今日のちーちゃん絶好調すぎてついつい勇み足しちまったい。
そのまま土俵の外へ飛んでいけ。
Arriving a little late, Tomoko entered inside with her usual exasperated tone. And then, she turned to face our host watching TV behind the counter and greeted him with a familiar good morning.
おお、久しぶりだな、牧村。佐伯は珍しくもないが。
ちょっと先輩、そんな言い方はないでしょ。まるで私がここに入り浸っているようじゃないですか。
昨日と一昨日に連続して喉乾いた、お腹すいたとかなんとか言って特大パフェとミックスジュース3杯も無銭飲食していった女子高生がいたはずなんだが。
Chisato, how could you?
それって誰だよ。
お前だよ。
あれ、そうだっけ。
I turned my back and whistled to play dumb. I could hear Tomoko and Natsumi sighing, but ignored it for the time being. Actually, this store is a coffee shop run by the wife of Yamashina-san, who works as my father's chauffeur. And the upperclassman here with us, Mamoru Yamashina, is his son. I like this place because we can be equals here without him calling me lady. Although, if you ask him, he'll say, I don't feel like you've earned the title of lady. What does he mean by that? Well, you don't act like a lady. At least not a traditional one. Well, at first I was going to the shop intending to help out with business, but at some point, I started putting everything on tab, leaving him to actually pay for me. Though I occasionally help out here as a waitress, so I do return the favor a little. I'd like to think. Nah, you gotta pay for it.
でもいいのたまこちゃん。確かうちの高校の校則だと制服着たまま喫茶店に入るのって禁止のはずじゃ。
A coffee shop wearing your school uniforms is forbidden? What kind of sense does that make? It's just a coffee shop, isn't it?
ああ、ここは特別って言葉はちょっと語弊があるけど、まあ大丈夫よ。
Like, unless this place serves alcohol or something, in which case, well, okay, I guess I could kind of understand that. But if it's just plain coffee and soft drinks and stuff like that, it's like, what's the problem?
ここのマスターさんって私たちの知り合いだから。
お、君は見慣れない顔だな。ひょっとして牧村の後輩か？
いえ、私は。
Natsumi was in a panic trying to deny that she was younger than us. But she tripped over her words and nothing came out. Like usual, she was shy as shy can be when it came to new people. Her face was bright red, and she dejectedly hung her head. Oh, brother.
何言ってんのさ先輩。夏美は私たちと同い年だよ。よく見なよ。ほら。
After saying that, I grabbed the collar on Natsumi's sailor uniform and held her school badge up side by side with my own. The badge colors at our high school change on a 3-year cycle, so by looking at the color, you can easily tell if another student is in your grade level. However,
こら千里、早く話しなさい。夏美の胸元、ちょっと見えそうになってるって。
Immediately after Tomoko said that, Natsumi shook off my hand in a panic and slumped down in shame. She then glared up at me with tears in her eyes.
千里ちゃん。
いや、悪い。ちょっと力余っちゃった。許してちょんまげ。
この大関スケこまし、ちょっとは自重しろ。あ、山科さん、紹介が遅れましたね。この子は君吉夏美。私たちのクラスメートです。
After delivering a fist to my head, Tomoko turned to the host with a radiant smile. And in response to that, Natsumi quickly got up and bowed while saying, "Nice to meet you."
で、この人は山科さん。去年までうちの高校の先輩で、私もいろいろお世話になってたの。
よろしく、君吉さん。まあ、牧村よりもむしろ佐伯の世話の方が多かったような気はするがな。
いや、それほどでも。
いや、褒めてないから。
Tomoko didn't hesitate to respond briskly to my typical goofball joke. She was truly my oldest friend. She knew me well.
で、この店は守先輩の実家でね。先輩は臨時マスターとして働いてるってわけ。だから、ここに入るのは先輩の家に遊びに来たようなもんだから、全然問題なし。
そうなの？たまこちゃん。まあ厳密には違うんだけど、なんかあったら千里が責任取ってくれるわよ。
おいこらたまこ、こういう時は一連卓勝だろ。
Truly my childhood friend, not even showing a shred of kindness or mercy. Besides, why does Natsumi need Tomoko's invalidation? Doesn't she have faith in me?
いや、普段が普段だから仕方ないでしょうが。まあ、
そんなことよりここに突っ立っているのもなんだから、どこか座りましょう。山科さん、このテーブルいいですか？
ああ、どこでもいいよ。ちょうど今ランチ終わって休憩に入るところだったから。
After saying that, the host Mamoru made his way around the counter and toward the entrance, then turned over the hanging closed sign. This is probably his way of being considerate. He may be brusque, but I liked this brand of adult kindness of his.
とりあえず注文は？アルコール以外の冷たいやつならすぐに出せるぞ。
Okay, so they do serve alcohol here, so that definitely explains the restriction.
じゃあ私と夏美はミックスジュースで、千里は鍋焼きうどん大盛り。
意味わからんわ。ああ、それと何かケーキ余ってますか？これは私払いますから3つお願いします。
ケーキ？何かお祝いでもやるのか？
ええ、まあね。
I looked over toward Natsumi and winked playfully. An embarrassed yet happy smile appeared on her face as she timidly played with the tie on her sailor uniform.
それじゃあ君吉夏美くんの面談見事クリアと超ハッピー羨ましいぞこの野郎な栄養をゲットしたことを祝して、ささやかで貧乏臭いながらも辛抱して。
佐伯、お前だけケーキなし。
素晴らしくゴージャスなこの会合に乾杯！乾杯！
Shouting together in chorus, we raised our glasses of mixed juice and clanked them together. I began to drink it at once. It was wonderful.
冷たくて美味しい。先輩、おっかわり。
お前な、結構手間かけて作ってんだから、もうちょっと味わって飲めんのか？
というかその口元の泡拭きなさいっての。そのストローは飾り物か？
Mamoru and Tomoko charged in, but I paid them no mind and continued to smile. I appreciated they just smiled and excused the little mess. Right. Today was a wonderful day. A wonderful day where the boy who Natsumi had longed for ages confessed to her, reciprocating her feelings. And the boy who confessed to her was someone I knew well. In fact, I knew him all too well. Because that boy was my childhood friend, Akira Toru. He's a fantastic artist, and he has won several prizes in national competitions. Of course, he's the pride and joy of our high school. But Tomoko and I are also proud to have him as a friend. We're inseparable, as much as he may begrudge it. As for the boy in question, we actually realized that he had a crush on Natsumi a while ago, but stayed quiet about it until today. Part of it was because Akira himself swore us to silence. But I also saw it as a little bit of a trial imposed on the two of them. However, Natsumi and Akira passed the test and reached the goal today. As a friend who knew both of them, I felt obligated to support them, so I dragged her out to this usual haunt of mine to celebrate.
それにしても千里、あんたはいくらなんでもはしゃぎすぎ。もうちょっと静かにお祝いできんのか？
何を言うかタマコ。お祝いってのは少々ハメ外しすぎてやかましいぐらいに騒ぐのが一般常識って決まってるんだから。
I agree. We need firecrackers.
この程度なら許容範囲よ。
そんな一般常識見たことも聞いたことも食べたこともないっての。すみません山科さん、千里が迷惑かけて。
いや、もう慣れた。ま、飲み食いは俺のおごりとしても、店内の掃除とかはちゃんと体で払ってもらうけどな。
体って、いや
やめろその不思議なくねくね踊りは。気色悪いっつの。
With a look of disgust on his face, Mamoru set a second glass of mixed juice down in front of me. I thought that was a decent attempt at flirting, but I guess it didn't get through to him. I think he recognized your attempt at flirting. I just don't think that he's titillated by what he sees.
千里ももう少し黙ってこの怪しさ大爆発なリアクションがなければモテるのにね。院長令嬢の肩書きが号泣してるわ。
何を言う。肩書きがワンワン泣くわけないでしょ。
ほんと、あんたの頭の中は宇宙のようにフリーダムよ。
Ooh, shots fired.
なんのこっちゃ。
でも2人のおかげで助かったよ。事前にレクチャーしてくれてたから受け答えも結構余裕でいけちゃった。
Natsumi smiled while saying that. Well, the career interview was a big deal for her, so she must be so relieved to have it behind her.
でも三崎大学なんて全然聞いたことなかったんだけど、調べてみたらすごく素敵な大学なんだね。校舎も綺麗だし、キャンパスは公園みたいだし。
でしょでしょ。しかも狙いは新設の学部だから難易度はそこそこのレベルだし、しかも空調完備で学業にはもってこいの環境。先物買いだからブランド力はまだまだだけど、名より実ならあれ以上の大学はない。
Actually, when Natsumi first accepted our offer to help her prepare for this career interview, Misaki University wasn't our first option. But we decided to proceed cautiously for the time being. Since her dad works at a trading company, we would recommend either a business school or one centered around an English department. At least that was my initial plan. However, on Sunday, a couple days back, I met up with Mamoru here before heading to the library to meet up with Natsumi. And when I casually asked him about the school aspirations, I was shocked by his reply.
あ？その大学って現役生だと内部進学者が圧倒的に有利だぞ。それに最近国際化なんとかで英語関係の学部の競争率って上昇傾向だから、外部で受けるのって国公立志願者の力試しか滑り止めの奴らが大半のはずだけど、大丈夫か？
My face went pale when Mamoru told me about this. I spent so much time listening to his latest information that I arrived an hour late to my meeting with Natsumi. Thanks to that, he told me about a fairly good-looking university with a new department that didn't favor second-time applicants, which I subsequently recommended to Natsumi. It really was a close call. If I had advised her of my superficial knowledge and told her some random school's name, I'm sure that insidious teacher would have lashed out at her. Tomoko and I can brush aside anything she says and laugh it off. But Natsumi isn't like that. Natsumi's grades aren't terrible by any means. In fact, it's pretty amazing that she was able to overcome the handicap of transferring in the middle of the school year. No joke. Still, Natsumi's family, especially her mom, seem to be making a big deal about her career and grades, so they won't be satisfied unless she gets into a fairly reputable school. According to what I heard later, she needed to get into a 4-year university on the first try. Junior college was out of the question, and they wouldn't accept her aiming to get in on a second try. Very harsh conditions. That's why, when I saw her come out of the career interview with a big smile on her face, it made me feel delighted from the bottom of my heart.
まあ、その分大学じゃ勉強頑張らないとね。合格した後も4年間気が抜けないわよ。
はーい、了解です。
まあそれはともかくとしてだ。夏美？
I carefully drank my juice out of the straw. Then I quickly turned to Natsumi, who was lost in thought about college life. With a smug and refreshed smile on my face, I asked her,
合格のためにも知りたいんだけどさ、アキラに告白されてどこまで行ったの？決まってるでしょ。健全な男女交際のことよ。A、B、C、それとも Z？
I couldn't tell what Natsumi pictured as a healthy relationship, but Natsumi was already choking on the juice caught in her throat. Her face was bright red. In the second half of the sentence she cried out was completely unintelligible.
何驚いてるのよ。これは青少年として当然の素朴な疑問ってやつでしょ。ねえタマコ。
私に同意を求めるんじゃない。告白されたばかりの女の子にそんな質問するなんて、あんたの発想の起源は美少女ゲームか。
美少女ゲーム？なんじゃそりゃ。私が聞いてるのは A 赤くなる、 B びっくりする、 C 知らんぷり、 Z ゼロ距離射撃ってことなんだけど。
なんじゃそりゃ。
ゴゴゲ。
Even Tamako blushed as she came in with a punch. Was I really asking something so weird? Yes.
まあ、いいかな。とりあえずケーキといってもこれくらいしかないんだが、いいか？
うわあ、おいしそう。
Is it vanilla? Looking at the cake Mamoru brought over, Tamako let out a joyful sigh. It was a brightly colored strawberry cake, the kind you'd see on display in the front of a shelf at a bakery.
実は、さっき隣町のエンジェルモートの視察ついでに買ってきたんだが、調子に乗って買いすぎてな。
An angel mort cake, eh?
残飯処理で申し訳ないが、よかったら食べちゃってくれ。いいん
ですか？こんな高そうな。
If I'm remembering correctly, that must be the new item Angel Mort added this summer. I hear they're so limited in stock that they sell out in a flash. Mamoru must have bought this for his younger brothers who love cakes.
いや先輩、これは。
どうした？何か問題があるか？
ああ、いえ。
Mamoru looked at me in the face and nonchalantly smiled. Of course he saw right through me. We've known each other for ages. Oh man.
んじゃ、先輩のご好意に甘えていただきましょう。ね、タマコ。
うん。そう、ありがとうございます。山科さん。
ありがとうございます。
Tamako seemed to have realized what was up, while Natsumi gratefully bowed to Mamoru. Then, after we watched him go back behind the counter, the three of us grabbed our forks, opened our mouths wide, and scooped up some cake.
おいしい。
The exquisite, subtle flavor spread across my mouth, and a smile suddenly spread across my entire face. As expected, the cake's taste did not betray its appearance, as they say. Does anyone actually say that? Don't ask me, first I've heard of it.
この町に生まれてよかった。こんなケーキが食べられるのはこの町に住んでいるからこその特権だよね。
そうだね。エンジェルモートは前の町にもあったけど、こんなに美味しいケーキはなかったかな。
あれ？エンジェルモートってチェーン店だったの？へえ、この町以外にもあるんだね。
うん。確か私の町のところが本店だったと思うよ。
そうなんだ。でも品揃えとセンスは絶対本店よりこの町の方が上だよね。流行をいち早く掴んでおしゃれに反映させてるんだからさ。
うん。そうだよね。
Careful, Chisato. You're making her hometown seem untrendy, as it were.
お？
I felt like I could have worded that better, but I mean, well, yeah. Making her feel untrendy by proxy, not good for her psyche, as it turns out. Suddenly, I felt something poking my toes, so whoops.
まずい。またやっちゃった。
So I looked up. When I did, I saw Tomoko throwing a glare of condemnation in my direction from across the table. After seeing Natsumi's downtrodden expression, I mentally cursed myself. I only recently noticed after Tomoko pointed it out to me, but Natsumi has been really self-conscious about the fact that she came from a rural town. Whenever we talk about jumping on the latest trends, a little sense of incompatibility creeps up, like we have a different set of values. So, unlike in Somotsushi, you guys learned much earlier on where she's from, huh? Interesting. However, it's become a rift that has plagued Natsumi with a constant sense of alienation and an excessive inferiority complex.
とはいえ
Natsumi is probably overthinking it. That was what I first said, and even now I still think that a little bit. But even so, Tomoko seemed really upset when I said that, and angrily told me this.
千里のマイペースはいいところもあるけどさ、そのせいで相手の気持ちに鈍感なのは全然良くない。あんたは意識してないかもしれないけど、自分以外のものを比較対象にして自分の幸せをアピールするやり方、聞く相手によっては笑えない時もあるよ。
別に私は自分と夏美を比較したりなんか。
してる。実際に夏美がそれすごく気にしてる。あの子をよく見てみれば。
After that conversation with Tomoko, I've been keeping a close eye on Natsumi's reactions. From that I learned that conversations us from the city wouldn't think twice about could be a source of discomfort or unease for those who grew up in the country. I love this town. I was born and raised here. My father made a name for himself running a major hospital, and there are a lot of people who can get along regardless of differences in their age or gender. I go out for meetings with my parents often enough that I have an idea of where everything is in this town. Everything about this town is deeply entwined with my life, so I feel deep pride and attachment towards it. So I think it's natural for that to manifest in things I say. Even so, I should never hurt my precious friends by showing off. I thought that, so I've usually been careful. But once again, I failed.
でもまあ、
I have to make up for this. Though I act casually on the outside, on the inside my mind's racing to coming up with a way to cheer her up. And after realizing that I didn't know what was safe to say after all, I glanced toward Tomoko to ask for help. Tomoko, don't look at me with those bug eyes. Give me a hand here. Bug eyes? Bug eyes. I've seen bug eyes, and she does not have those. If anything, Natsumi's closer to having bug eyes compared to Tomoko.
夏美の知ってるエンジェルモートもウェイトレスさんってあの格好なの？え？
Natsumi raised her head when she heard Tomoko's question. Noticing her reaction, Tomoko smiled bitterly and continued speaking.
だってエンジェルモートの売りってウェイトレスさんのあの過激な格好でしょ？
Who could forget something like that?
私も前に一度見たんだけど、なんというかこう見てる方が恥ずかしいっていうか。
ああ、うん。本店の方もそんな感じかな。生足むき出しだったから、なんかスースーしてて。
なんか描写に実感こもってるな。ひょっとして夏美、経験ありか？
Though I thought I was being a little forceful, I dove into their conversation. I was worried that Natsumi would reject me, but her eyes widened as she overreacted.
ないってば。私の知り合いにアルバイトしてる子がいたから、その子から聞いただけだよ。
そうなの？でも夏美も着てみたら案外似合うかもね。
似合わないよ。私そんなにプロポーション良くないし。
いやいや夏美、よく聞きなさい。ツルペッタンはね、これからはステータスなの。
I need to look up what that word is. From the Urban Dictionary, Surupitan actually means flat and smooth. Pitan alone means flat. For example, the suffix ko means girl, such as in Maganeko. Megane equals glasses, so glasses girl. So petanko means a flat-chested girl. Suru means smooth, so smooth plus flat. Well, Chisato, I appreciate your attempts to cheer her up, but, well, the fact of the matter is, and I got biology backing me up here, people generally like big boobs. And curves. And Hartman hips. Now, there's nothing wrong with liking flat chests, but I'm just saying most people definitely prefer having some curves and a little bit of body fat in all the right places, if you know what I mean. Wait a minute, it's just now fully registering to me. You just called her flat-chested! Oh no, Chisato! Natsumi cocked her neck in confusion, not knowing what the word meant flat-chested. And I could have just advanced a couple lines and it could have had this explained to me right here. Oh, freaking well, I guess. Alright. Things are going well.
いいかね、夏美くん。あえて夢や希望を打ち砕く発言をさせてもらうとすれば、成長の終わった体なんて金出しゃ誰だって見れるの。あんたはまだ若いから自覚はないかもしれないけどね、成長途上の青い美しさってのは触れ切った果実よりもずーっと価値があるものなのよ。
That sounds like something a real pervert would say.
こいつは。例えば例を挙げてみよう。お茶の葉を摘み取るとき、高級品として最も大事に扱われるのはどの部分だ？広がりきった新緑か？いいな！夏も近づく88夜。それこそ芽吹いて小指ほどに育った新芽にこそ旨味と味わいが宿るというではないか。別の例でもそう。出世魚といって成長するごとに名前を変えるこの魚が一番美味しいとされるのはちょっと成熟したかなと感じる途上のハマチでしょうが。ちなみに私は寿司屋でもハマチが一番好きだ。反論は認めない。
I feel like I'm listening to a female Keiichi right now.
それ以外にも似たような事例はまだまだ限りなく、それこそ文字通り星の数ほどもあるが、あんまり続いてもだれるだけなのでこの辺にしておこう。だいたい女性の体はボンキュッボンが理想的なんていうやつもいるが、そんなのは体脂肪が乗り切ってブヨブヨの肉で言えば霜降りのラード。
Now that's just an insult to lard everywhere, Chisato.
確かに味はあるかもしれないけど、食べ過ぎると成人病でお医者さんのお世話になる可能性が高いジャンクフードだ。食の飽和時代と呼ばれる現代社会においては百害あって一利なしのまさに人類の敵なのよ。
で、結論から聞きましょう。 何が言いたいわけ？
私はそこらのなんちゃってメイドより夏美のエンジェルモード姿が見たい、猛烈に見たいのだ。最近習った漢文帳で言えば、我夏美のあで姿を見るを欲す。
That is a Chinese proverb?
どうだ、これで伝わったか？
You sure that's just not a human proverb in general? Because, Chisato, people like seeing naked people. It's just a fact of life.
なんならドイツ語でもロシア語でもサンスクリット語でも、私はこの思いを翻訳してみせるぞ。
山科さん、何でもいいからこのアホを黙らせて。睡眠薬持ってない？
バカに効く薬はない。
Natsumi was half astonished and half confused, but a smile formed across her face. At least the dark expression I caught a glimpse of a few minutes ago has gone away. I think. As long as that's the case, I don't mind playing the fool. As long as I can make her smile.
ところで、夏美の前に住んでいた町ってどんなところなの？
おお、私も知りたいな。この町のエンジェルモートとそこの本店とぜひぜひ味比べをしてみたいもんだ。
そうだね。
Did the boy toy walk in by any chance? Are you peeping over at us, Akira? Just then, Natsumi's calm eyes widened as she looked off in another direction. She looked frozen in terror. Terror. I don't recall her ever looking at him in that way. Unsettled by a sudden change in her demeanor, I looked over my shoulder in the direction Natsumi was looking. And then...
獅子骨市と周辺にお住まいの皆さんは、どうぞ冷静な対応をお願いいたします。
Oh. The TV behind the counter was broadcasting the news.
夏美？
But Natsumi continued staring into the TV, as though she couldn't hear my voice. They were showing some country landscape. Looking closer, I noticed the name Hinamizawa Village on the bottom of the screen.
繰り返します。本日未明、獅子骨市hinami沢地区で大規模なガス災害が発生。死者・行方不明者が多数出ている模様です。現在のところ生存者は見つかっておりません。
No survivors have been found. We all absent-mindedly stopped to listen to the newscaster's report. The entire village was destroyed overnight. It's a tragic accident for sure, but I never heard of Hinamizawa Village. That's why I don't have any strong feelings about the incident. However...
夏美、どうしたの？このニュース、夏美と何か関係あるの？
なんでもない。ごめん、用事思い出しちゃった。私、帰るね。
Natsumi's awkward smile looked especially out of place. Her complexion was completely pale and drained of blood, and her eyes looked hollow and unfocused.
ちょっと、夏美！
ごめん、平気だから。
After saying only that, Natsumi grabbed her bag and began to run out of the store, forgetting to even acknowledge Mamoru behind the counter. That wasn't like Natsumi. She was usually a lot more polite.
どうしたんだろう、夏美。なんか変だったけど。
あのさ、タマコ。
何？
私、また、夏美にひどいこと言ったかな。
I suddenly began feeling worried and nervously asked Tamako. I try to be careful not to say anything weird, but maybe some terrible words slipped in there without my awareness.
なんだ、そんなこと気にしてたの？大丈夫だよ。あの子が怒るようなことは何も言ってなかったから。
本当に？
本当だって。
Hearing Tomoko say it a second time, her words finally reached my heart. But if that's the case, what on earth just happened with Natsumi right now?
確かにちょっと変だったよね。何かあったのかな。
そりゃ元いた町の近くで大災害が起こったんだから心配になったんじゃないか。
Thank you for pointing out the obvious. Hearing Momoru's answer from behind us, Tomoko and I turned at once to face him.
守先輩、それって。
なんだ、知らなかったのか。彼女が言ってたエンジェルモートの本店がある町って沖宮、このひなみざわ村の隣町だよ。
After hearing that, Tomoko gasped with a look of horror on her face. And I'm sure I had the same expression. Tips unlocked, career aspirations. Well, fuck. And here I was hoping that we would have nothing but a good mood throughout this whole thing. But no, it's been mostly anything but. Oh, freaking well. So who's aspiring right now? Is it Detective Minai? Monica?
え？
Oh, come on, go.
それじゃあ、タマコも陸王大を受験するっての？
うん。というか、この辺りの校区の子は大体受験するんじゃない？入学するかどうかは別にしてさ。
I get it. Unlike the metropolitan area and the Kansai area, it's a great place to get used to taking entrance exams, isn't it?
へえ、そうですか。どうせタマコさんたちにとっての滑り止めは、私にとっての第一志望でございますよーだ。
変な言い方しないでよ。それに私は陸王大受かったらちゃんと入学するつもりなんだからね。あんまり東とか西とか遠い大学に通うつもりはないの。
そうなの？
It was a bit surprising. Rikuko University is hardly a bad college, but Tomoko is the top of our class, so I would have expected her to aim a little higher. Of course, Tomoko probably feels obligated to look after her younger brothers, and her parents can't offer much in the way of financial assistance. But I'm sure they would be kind enough to help.
私、ずっと昔から学校の先生になりたいって思ってるの。で、先生を目指すんだったら、どこに入ってもそんなに変わらないでしょ？だから、近くてやりがいのある勉強ができそうな陸王大の教育学部はぴったりの環境なのよね。
そうは言ってもさ、いい大学出てないと出世できないよ。もともと先生って割に合わない仕事だし、肩書きがなきゃ一生上役に頭下げて安月給でこき使われるのがオチだと思うけどね。
まあそれはほどほどに。でも尾形先生みたいに上昇志向じゃなくって、安川先生のように何でも相談に乗ってくれる先生になりたいかな。私誰かに頼られるってのそんなに嫌じゃない方だからさ。
いやー、涙が出るほどの委員長気質だね。
Though I said that to poke fun at her, I really did believe that Tomoko was a perfect fit for teaching. a desire to take care of others, and to guide them with your own wisdom. Those instincts are what a student needs most in a teacher. Well, that's a skill I couldn't develop no matter how hard I tried.
で、千里は陸王大を目指すからには、なんか大きな目標があるんでしょ？
Wait a minute. So they're both aiming for different universities. Not the same one like Natsumi heard in the last arc. Also interesting.
そりゃもちろん私の目標はズバリ世界征服。
私が真面目に答えたんだから、ちゃんと真面目に答えな。
ちょっち恥ずかしい理由なんだけどな。
No, it was actually a pretty pathetic reason. But I couldn't lie to Tamako, so I warily told her.
いやね。あの子の近くでしょ。あの大学ってさ。
近く？あ。
You talking about the girl who looks so awful lot like Natsumi by any chance? You said her name once already, right? What was it? Thanks to our years of friendship, Tamako was able to understand what I was getting at. Right. Because she knew about that girl.
私もね、どこの大学ならどうって希望はないの。私は病院の院長の娘だから、将来はある程度決まってるし。まあ、医学部に行ける頭はさすがにないから、せめて浪人して薬学部入って、薬剤師の免許ぐらいは取らないと格好はつかないでしょうけどね。
My parents have no heir other than me. And none have the skills to successfully manage a hospital. Of course, it would be natural for me to marry someone who works at a hospital.
大学卒業して就職したら、なかなか忙しくて会いに行けなくなるでしょ？だったら、4年間くらいはあの子の近くにいられたらってね。
千里。
It sounded ridiculous. It was totally selfish. Wanting to see that girl every day sounded like nothing but trouble. Even so, I...
ああ、もうなんか暗い話になるから言いたくなかったんだってば。恨むよ、タマコ。
あんたは相変わらずだね。いつになったら、その場所から前に進み出せるの？
I couldn't understand what I just heard. At least for now, I understood that I was doing this for that girl's sake, not just my own.
むしろ、私が知りたいよ。いつ、どうやったら、このでっかい荷物を下ろすことができるのかってね。
そんなの簡単じゃない。あんたが自分から背負うのをやめればいいだけ。違う？
それができないから、苦労してるんじゃない。
Tamako sighed and then looked back to me. I understood what she was saying. I've sunk into a trap, running around in circles mentally. Really. This is, like usual, just who I am. It would have been nice to have had this girl referred to by name. By name. Still, there was definitely more than a couple tidbits of interesting information there, for sure. Which I'm sure will be important later on. So, we got our first episode of the new arc done and over with. And already, shit is hitting the fan. Although I'm sure, much like with the answer arcs to the question arcs in the main story, events are certainly gonna play out a bit differently here and there. And if they do, which I'm sure they will, then what exactly will play out differently, and what will the new events end up revealing to us, I wonder. If nothing new about the main story itself, which I don't really think it's going to be anything like that, then what about the story of these characters? I'm more interested in that, if anything. Well, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and end things here. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. If you did and you want to see more content from me, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all next time. Take care.